Probably the most interesting and difficult question in the entire history of the Earth's existence can be considered the topic, where did all this come from? If we start with the great mysteries of mankind, then a number of questions arise about the true truth of human origin. Two of them are as follows. Has an advanced civilization decided to colonize the universe after all, and are people the result of such an action? Are people under the supervision of the gods, who monitor how they develop and in which direction they are moving? These issues have not arisen recently or in the modern period. On the contrary, since ancient times, people have been trying to explain to themselves their existence on planet Earth and have asked themselves if there are somehow beings superior to them who are watching them and can help or harm them. At first, there were many legends about the origin of man who tried to answer these questions with the help of as many different explanations as possible, ranging from the idea of gods descending from heaven traveling on chariots of fire, and ending with unknown creatures that appeared from the waters on board some mysterious ships. Over time, these legends developed into whole mythologies, and later people began to approach this topic more intellectually, writing down knowledge and reasoning on this topic in books. Perhaps the Bible is right and people are indeed created by a higher mind, but this is not God. Science and religion still cannot come to a consensus on one of the most unsolvable mysteries of the universe. This is how people appeared on Earth. Unlike the Bible, the Darwinian theory accepted by the modern scientific community insists that the forefather of the human race is a monkey. At the same time, it should be noted that even during the lifetime of Charles Darwin, his teaching was perceived extremely ambiguously, and since its formation it has been interpreted only as a hypothesis and not at all as a proven scientific fact. For what reason is a person who has a number of signs similar to a monkey organ structure, breastfeeding, etc., while being able to speak and has a higher mind? How can we explain that only representatives of the human race have a hymen, while female mammals lack it? And most importantly, in Darwinian theory, there is no intermediate stage between an upright man Homo erectus and an intelligent man Homo sapiens. At the same time, the version of human origin presented in the Bible also does not fully meet the scientific research conclusions. God created man in his own image, but then why does Homo sapiens have so much in common with animals, the same monkeys? All these unresolved issues are still a big mystery for the scientific community, causing many interpretations and assumptions. Scientists have always tried to find out why all kinds of religious beliefs have something in common, a supreme being who came from heaven or the condescension of several celestials to Earth. Apparently, it was the aliens who became the creators of man, putting into him moral and everyday concepts about how he needs to live. Not so long ago, no one thought that man could be the creation of some other mortal being, and not God at all. But in the modern world, when genetic engineering is developing by leaps and bounds, people have begun to look at biblical treatises in a new way. What if we really were created by aliens? It will probably surprise many that scientists are already as close as possible to confirming this fact. Recently, researchers have established that the human genome includes about 30 to 35,000 genes. At the same time, they are 95% identical to the genes of the monkey. There are genes that are related to humans and invertebrates, and even plants, and this serves as proof that Darwin's theory is to some extent true. And the most important fact is that humans have 223 genes that are missing from all other species of living beings on Earth. It is thanks to these scanty 0.7% of the genome that a person is intelligent and can speak. American researcher Zacharias Sitchin wrote an article based on genetic data, The Case of Adam's Alien Genes, proving that man was created using genetic engineering. According to the hypothesis of a scientist from America, when alien beings from the planet Nibiru landed on Earth, there is a message about such a planet in the oldest Sumerian writings. This mysterious planet is observed next to the Sun every 4,000 years, and about 300,000 years ago an aircraft with aliens landed in Africa. The scientist believes that technologically, the inhabitants of Nibiru were quite developed, and aliens came to Earth for the purpose of mining. The Nibirians were very few in number and needed manpower. And then, through genetic engineering, they introduced several extra genes into the monkey's genome, after which it had a mind. So the first man was created Adam, and then Eve as a clone of Adam, but with a different chromosome set. Surprisingly, if you trust the biblical writings, these people lived much longer than us, for several hundred years. By the way, the hymen was most likely embedded in Eve for a reason, but as a certain restriction on copulation. The aliens realized that a man created from an animal and inheriting its biological characteristics would be controlled by instincts, including sexual ones. This means that promiscuous cohabitation and lack of responsibility for offspring cannot be avoided. The forefathers bequeathed these and other moral and everyday rules to their creations, and the human race began its centuries-old history, trying to follow the precepts of the teachers. At the same time, the aliens did not stop their exploration activities and entered into communication with their home planet. Sitchin is convinced that there was a spaceport in the Two Rivers region, with a control room in Nipper and a landing canvas in Sipper. A curious fact is that the straight line drawn through these points is 45 degrees to the meridian going through Ararat, which could play the role of a landmark for the landing of a spacecraft. The Nibirians continued their research. There were more and more people, and apparently they did not meet the expectations of aliens about moral life in everything, and this greatly upset the creators. Interestingly, the biblical texts mention that the sons of God had relations with human daughters, which upset God. Apparently, quarrels and conflict situations arose among the aliens themselves because of this circumstance. And most likely, the Nibirians had a commander who led the flight and monitored the moral behavior of the group. And then the Earth was covered by the universal flood, most likely in connection with some cosmic phenomenon that led to a global natural disaster. The aliens knew about this event in advance, but they told only one person about it, the righteous Noah, while punishing the future Noah's family from now on in order to avoid a repeat of the cataclysm, to live righteously, who escaped on the legendary ark. At the same time, the Nibirians themselves also survived, reconstructed their space airports, and continued the construction of other airfields. But in the end, for some reason, what exactly, we do not know, the aliens flew away from our planet back to themselves, to Nibiru, leaving on Earth the creation of their own hands, a man with a higher mind, forced to fight with his instincts all the time. But even all this does not allow us to answer the greatest mystery of mankind. Even if people were created by alien beings, who created the aliens themselves, where did intelligence come from in the lifeless expanses of outer space?